So now we're going to move on to talking about high blood pressure. And that's a particular problem in the Caribbean because we have a lot of mixtures of ancestries, a lot of indigenous people mixed with people that were brought here from Africa, mixed with people that were brought here from India, China. We're just a mixture of peoples. Normal blood pressure used to be 120/80. The American Heart Association changed it about 5 years ago to 119/79. And we hit the roof because we said we have to redo all our literature because of one number, and they said absolutely. Because the people that never went above 119/79 had a 3-fold decrease in coronary events. So it was very statistically significant. For the Caribbean, we have even more stricter blood pressure readings. We want your blood pressure to be no higher than 115/75. Why is that? Because of our particular genetic mixture, we in the Caribbean tend to develop a type of high blood pressure that's called malignant hypertension. Hypertension is in the Caribbean, in a Caribbean person, is much harder to treat, and it has more consequences than in a Caucasian person or an Oriental person or someone from another genetic group. And blood pressure is really what's killing a lot of people in the Caribbean. Your blood pressure is controlled by electrolytes in your blood. So you have to think of your heart like a battery. It has a positive end and a negative end. And it's the alternation of positive and negative charges that keep your heart beating. Boom, 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 boom. So what are electrolytes? You've all heard the term electrolytes. Electrolytes are sodium, which is salt, potassium, magnesium, calcium. These are all electrolytes in our blood. And they all carry a charge, either a negative charge or a positive charge. And it's the alternation of these charges that keep our hearts beating. And we never want to have an electrolyte imbalance because that's called a sudden cardiac death. Your heart just stops beating. And so our body will do everything possible not to have an electrolyte imbalance. The one way that the body can defend itself is if you go to the corner and you have chicken noodle soup out of a can. 1 cup of chicken noodle soup has a sodium equivalent of 333 potato chips. So here you have your chicken noodle soup and you think everything's hunky-dory, but inside your body, in your bloodstream, the negative charge is starting to go up. But I just got done telling you we can't have an imbalance. So what does your body do? It pulls water in to dilute the negative charge. But by pulling water into your bloodstream, it increases your blood volume, which increases your blood pressure. Couple of things with high blood pressure. Anything that's floating around, like cholesterol or triglyceride, when your pressure is high, it gets plastered up against the artery wall. The other thing with high blood pressure is that every time your blood pressure goes up, and you take your pills and it goes back down. And then it goes up and down and up and down. It's basically like a balloon. You have a balloon here that's nice and firm and has good turgor. This is somebody that's young and has normal blood pressure. Very elastic arteries, okay? This isn't going to explode. This is in good shape. This is someone that's had a couple of years of high blood pressure, meaning they had their salty soup and it went down. They had their salty Vienna sausages and it went down. They had their salty hot dogs and it went down. And so after many years of push, pull, the arteries start to lose their elasticity and they weaken. And then when you have a really bad weak spot in your artery and you have something salty, that's called a stroke. Okay? Now, if God in all his wisdom had given us our hearts up here, strokes wouldn't be a problem. But because God gave us our hearts here, and to pump up requires a lot of pressure, when we have a stroke, it's usually the arteries going to the head. The best case scenario with a stroke, you're 6 feet under, 4 paws up, lots of nice words said about you, good food, nice music, and you're out of here. The worst case scenario in a stroke is you're going to rely on somebody for the rest of your life to give you a bath and get you out of bed and do everything that you do normally every day. So what I tell people is, this is a gun, okay? But there's only one bullet. There's chamber for 6, but there's only one. So go ahead, it's Christmas, or it's your birthday, or you're only going to be at this restaurant this one time. But I'm telling you that each and every time you have something salty, this is what's happening with your arteries. And it's happening quietly. You don't feel this at all until the day something goes, and then it becomes a stroke. So salt isn't something that we need to play with. The recommended amount of sodium that people should be taking in is no more than 3,000 milligrams per day. Okay? So I go shopping here in Miami, and I go to the store and I buy red beans. Because I work, and soaking those beans, that takes time, and I don't have that time. So I go, and I'm not thinking that red beans are a particularly salty food, but I look at the label and it says sodium 380 milligrams per half cup. In order for me to make it to 3,000 milligrams a day, whatever I eat has to say less than 250 milligrams. Now, sometimes life has limitations, and maybe this is the only thing that's available. So my rule for anything in a can is you want to take it and you want to put it in a strainer and you want to rinse it. That goes for canned tuna, canned corn, canned beans. Anything in a can should be rinsed before you consume it. If there's a fresher alternative to a can, that's even better. Okay? So no more than 250 milligrams per serving, and no more than 3,000 milligrams for the whole day. If you already have high blood pressure and problems with your heart, then the criteria is cut in half. No more than 1,500 milligrams per day, and no more than 140 milligrams per serving.